Hey guys, it's Vice again. It's that time of the week for a new beta build, and we're in luck. Evokers received some changes this time. Make sure you stay till the end because there's some pretty big things going on here. Good and bad, and kinda ugly. Let's take a look. Looks like Preservation got some of their spell strength moved around a bit. Still feels pretty good in dungeons so far. Being able to cast Verdant Embrace on yourself is a big quality of life upgrade. That's gonna take a while to get used to. 15% increase the damage for your Preservation. They kinda slam damage now. Our healer friends just need a certain change we're all hoping for. Despite the downside, Preservation is still a blast to play. On the Devastation side of things, Power Spell got doubled, which is sorely needed as the path to Iridescence. The Capstone we don't currently use could use some real help as it was an Essence generation talent that performed pretty poorly at that. The bad part is that Power Spell is just not good enough, and every new change seems to just solidify the strengths of the other two Capstones for Devastation. The big change here that's got me so excited is the Burnout rework. Before, old Burnout was kind of awkward to get the value out of, because the window in which it was usable, after casting Fire Breath, would often get inundated with spell priority contradictions galore. You'd often cleave a 5-target Living Flame right after Fire Breath, instantly cap your Essence Bursts, and want to cast a Disintegrate to avoid overcapping EBs. It wouldn't be uncommon to find yourself casting other higher priority spells half the time you're in Burnout, which is just major feels bad, man. But now this problem is gone. It now gives all Fire Breath damage a chance to proc an instant LF cast for us to use, stacking up to 2. This means we gain more choices during movement in between the instant cast GCDs, between EB procs, Snapfire procs, and now Burnout procs. Us Evokers are quickly becoming the major proc class even more. But now let me preface this as it's a hot topic because of the massive good it brings. Unfortunately with it comes the bad and the ugly. Unfortunately, Burnout seems to be super bugged right now. Many of us hope to be machine gunning Living Flames with Fire Breath when it was taking on 4+ targets, because if it worked as we interpreted it to, we'd essentially be flipping a coin every set of ticks for a proc or not. But many of us quickly noticed this didn't seem to be the case. Preheat did some preliminary testing on this question at a larger scale, thanks to the data from a madman keeping Fire Breath up on multiple targets for 1 hour straight. Thank you, Fluber of Wormest Temple. What Preheat found was that the 16% chance to proc looks to be accurate on single target, but once you started looking at the 1 hour long dataset, we can see the amount of Burnout procs we were actually getting on multiple targets was about 1/3 of what we should have been. Upon further investigation, he realized that the amount of procs actually seemed to coincide with the same amount of instances you'd have seen if the Fire Breath test was conducted on only one target. What this could mean is either A, Blizzard implemented the Burnout rework incorrectly and that once fixed we will be machine gunning LF, or B, this is entirely intended. It would be very ugly to get Evokers extremely excited about all the implications of what the new Burnout brings, just to rip it out from under our feet. All we can hope to do is report it as a bug and give our feedback to the devs so that we can not only get an answer on what is intended, but to then express our feedback. Listen to Preheat. Let additional targets increase the proc rate. Give us the funnel. Catalyze, one of the new talents that should be gaining the most from this Burnout change, could actually be losing damage from it. New Burnout seems to have a 1-second internal cooldown when checking for a proc from Fire Breath ticks, but the issue is that it seems that a 1-second ICD is incurred upon check, not just when it procs. The issue here is that Catalyze makes Fire Breath tick 100% faster during Disintegrate, or more specifically, it causes your baseline Fire Breath to tick every 1 second instead of every 2 seconds. This wouldn't normally be a problem as it would line up perfectly with each 1-second Burnout ICD, but then the moment you gain even the smallest bit of haste, these ticks drop just below that 1-second tick rate during Catalyze. When that occurs, these additional ticks you gain are ignored by the Burnout 1-second ICD. Not only does this cause your Catalyze generated FB ticks to gain 0 benefit from what should be a massive synergistic interaction, it also delays your next FB tick as the speed up tick rate does not work dynamically when Dissent is no longer active on the target. This is what leads to Preheat noticing a significant amount of less Burnout procs when compared to 10-minute test with and without Catalyze. The test without Catalyze yields almost twice as many. Yikes. If that wasn't enough, Burnout is consuming procs incorrectly. Currently, if you get a Burnout while you're already in the process of casting a Living Flame, the proc gets consumed with no benefit. This is clearly an oversight and will get fixed to work properly. hopefully sooner than later. Despite the many bugs, issues, and oversights associated with the new Burnout, it surprisingly still feels better than the old one. Can you believe that? Even if their intention is for a flat 16% chance regardless of target count, it still helps flesh the spec out by giving us an additional layer of complexity and agency over our rotation. Being able to pull up to 2 burnout procs and for a long duration is super big for multiple different situations, whether it's to hold it for the perfect time right after ad spawn when you FB then instant LF cleave, or just to keep it in your pocket for when you need to move or generate EVs. If they could just work out the issues with Catalyze and the other bug I mentioned, we'd be getting even more value out of Burnout. Especially as our haste values increase, it'll just get better and better. We're not all doom and gloom here, so let's look at something with all positives. A surprise change was to Scintillation. They took probably our single best talent on the tree and made it better, and more consistent. The E-Surge's procs now only do 60% of the damage instead of 100%, but they nearly doubled the proc chance. This is a minor buff in damage overall, but the more important part is that since you fire off so many more E-Surges now, you can quickly fish for E-Surge crits, which offer more free EBs via Eye of Infinity, the new name for it, Continuum, which again turns into more disintegrations. Overall, this smooths out the gameplay a lot more and allows you to get even more buffed up distance to chain. Really awesome change. There's no bad or ugly here. Another big change is for hover. You can now finish your entire cast as long as the cast began during hover. This means you can start a disintegrate channel with 0.1 second left, remaining on hover, and still get to move while channeling until the disintegrate ends. Keep this in mind for min-maxing later, as this allows you to effectively extend your hovers even longer. Overall, I'm really happy with the latest changes to Evoker. They're moving in the right direction with things, but of course, I'd always welcome more. Really hoping to get at least a couple more talent and ability passovers before a Dragonflight launch, as there are surely many more changes that can go a long way towards making this class feel complete. In my last video, I did talk about how one good change has a rippling effect across the entire gameplay, and the changes to Burnout and Scintillation are exactly that. Now Burnout just needs to work properly and interact better with Catalyze, and we will be very happy. I wanted to point out though, that many classes might feel a little bit more clunky or slow right now, because of course we are losing tier sets and the secondary stat scaling. Evoker looks like it might really want some high haste and high crit, as those two stats go a long way in improving our positive feedback loop, and we're already starting to see it with the big jump in secondaries via the high eye level crafted gear on beta. Now we just really need some M+ keys enabled so that everyone can really start testing their specs. A good week or two of testing in dungeons where things actually take a while to die is the best way to not only test for tuning, but to also get a better understanding of what builds perform best. I predict our Firestorm EBF build will be king once that gets going. I'll be making a more in-depth guide for that, you can be sure. Feels like we're in a really good spot overall as a class, despite all the growing pains of being the new kid on the block. I find myself occasionally looking to branch off to other classes or specs to test on beta, but I always quickly come back to Evoker because I'm actually just having more fun on it than most of the others. Our future is bright, and as long as we keep promoting our feedback and constructive criticism like in this video and on the feedback forums, I am positive we will keep on moving in the right direction. Thank you all so much for all the views and love, I really appreciate it. You guys are awesome. Like, subscribe, and comment below what you like most about my videos. That's the best way to show appreciation if you enjoy my work. Once again, big shout out to the Wormrest Temple Evoker class Discord. It's full of tons of good people who are super passionate about Evoker. You know who you are. Come join, Discord link in description. Thanks again. Oh, and one last thing, 40-yard ranger bust. See you next time.